Okay, hi grade 8s and welcome back to our chapter 6 fraction operations. We are on 6.2 part 2 video. So we're on page 8 of our notes. Last video, I'll scroll back up to page 6 here. We did some non-calculating warm-ups. We looked at how to divide a fraction using models. So you write out the fraction 2/3 and then divide each section into 4s. So 2/3 divided into 4s is 8 out of 12. Divide each group by 4. And that's 1 from this third, 1 from the other third, 2 over 12, or 1/6. Same with page 7 using a number line. You had to write out the number line using thirds. Divide it by 4 by dividing each section by 4. Now, instead of out of thirds, it's out of 12 pieces total. Divide 2/3 by 4. Each section gets 2 pieces, or 2 out of 12. So the rule we learned is the 4 multiplies to the denominator. When we're timesing by a whole number, we times by the numerator. When we're dividing, we're actually just doing multiplication, but it's to the denominator. So let's stop and think. When we divide a number by 2, we're also saying we're taking half the number. When we divide a number by 3, we're taking a third of the number. And when we divide a number by 4, we're taking a quarter. So 3/4 divided by 2 is the same as timesing it by 1/2. We know how to do that. 3 times 1 is 3, 4 times 2 is 8. So what do you notice here? We're going to change to multiplication and then times by 1 over the whole number. So it's called flipping the reciprocal. Any number can be written as a fraction. The number 2 can be written as a fraction. Any whole number can. So 2 is the same as saying 2 over 1, because 2 divided by 1 equals 2. 4 is 4 over 1. 9 over 1. Any whole number is just over 1, because any number divided by 1 is going to be that number. Moving on to new learning, page 8. Method 1. If we have a fraction divided by a whole number, we can multiply the whole number to the denominator. This only works if we're using just a whole number. So that's one method. Or method 2, which is my preferred method. When dividing by a whole number, we can change the division symbol to multiplication and then multiply by 1 over the whole number. Or it's called its reciprocal. So we flip the numerator and the denominator. You're going to keep the number, put it over 1, add the 1, and then flip. So let me show you what I mean. Example 1. We have 1 and 1/4 divided by 2. When we're dealing with mixed numbers, remember we want to change it to a improper. So 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1, we have 5 over 4. Now we're going to divide it by 2. Dividing it by 2 is the same as going 5 over 4 times, so we have divided by 2 over 1, or you're timesing it by the opposite, 1 over 2. So 5/4 divided by 2 is the same, here, let's make this a little neater, as timesing it by 1/2. Remember we have up here, dividing by 2 is the same as taking half the number. So 5/4 divided by 2 over 1 is the same as 5/4 times 1/2. Now we know what we're doing. When we have two fractions, we multiply the numerators together and the denominators together. So 5 times 1 is 5. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 over 8 is our final answer. So we're going to put, when we're solving for using method 2, we're going to put the whole number over 1 and then flip it to multiply. Flip the numerator and the denominator around. So 3 over 5 divided by 3 is the same as saying 3. Oh man, I cannot draw today. 3 3 over 5 divided by 3 over 1. So we keep the first number the same, and then we flip. So divide by 3 over 1, multiply, we're going to flip. So we're going to take the denominator, put it on top to multiply. 1 over 3. Now it's easy. 3 times 1, 3. 5 times 3, 15. And we want the lowest terms. 3 and 15 are both divisible by what? By 3? Yep, you betcha. Divide by 3, we have 1 over 5 as our final answer. Or what do I mean when I'm talking about method number 1 up here? You could skip a step, but that gets confusing when we don't have whole numbers. But for method 1, I would simply go, 3 over 5 divided by 3. I'm going to times 3 by 5. That's going to give me 3 over 15, like we have right here, and then simplify. But I'm going to stick with method 2 for the rest of this lesson. Okay, 2 and 1/3 divided by 6. I'm going to write up here so I have more room. First, I need to change my mixed fraction to improper. So 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1. We have 7 over 3 divided by 6. And remember, any whole number is just 6 over 1. Or that's the same as saying we're going to keep the first number fraction is going to stay the same. Keep 7 over 3 and then flip the other one and multiply it. So flip this fraction, 1 over 6. Now it's easy. 7 times 1 is 7. 3 times 6 is 18. 7 over 18 is my final answer. Okay, a bowl of punch. Example 2. A bowl of punch is 3/4 full. If 3 students share the remaining punch equally, what fraction of the full bowl do they each get? So this is asking me to divide 3/4 divided by 3. Now I don't know how to do that, but if I put 3 over 1, I'm going to do my same method 2 strategy. So I'm going to keep the first fraction the same. It's very important that we don't change the first fraction. 3 over 4, and I'm going to multiply it by the reciprocal. I'm going to flip this. 3/4 times 1 over 3. Now I know how to solve. 3 times 1, 3. 4 times 3, 12. And simplify in lowest terms. Both are divisible by 3. So I have 1 over 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. If they have 3/4 full and 3 students share the remaining, each gets a quarter. And I should be writing my answers in complete sentences for problems. So then I would say each student gets 1/4 a bowl of the bowl of punch. And that makes sense, right? Because we think, 3/4 full, split between 3 students, each student gets a quarter. But the math's going to get a little bit trickier, so we need to follow these steps. So remember, the steps are, you're going to write it out as a division statement, 3/4 divided by 3 over 1. Then you keep the first number, keep the first fraction the same, and flip the other one and times. That's it. Okay, example 3. Charlie swims 8 laps in 1/4 of an hour. On average, how much time does he take to swim 1 lap if he can swim 8 laps in 1/4 of an hour? So First, I'm going to look at it as a fraction of an hour and then in minutes. So I'm going to start question A way over here. So we have a quarter of an hour, and he can swim 8. I want to know how much he can swim for 1 lap, how long it takes. So 1/4 divided by 8 laps to get what it would be for 1 lap. And remembering, 8 is the same as saying 8 over 1. Now I keep the first fraction, 1/4, and I multiply and flip 1 over 8. So I flipped the division statement to multiplication. So 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 8 is 32. In 1 out of 32 of an hour, he can swim 1 lap. And I'm going to write that nicely in a text box. So we have 1 out of 32 of an hour to swim 1 lap. That doesn't really tell me a very specific time, so, oh dear. There, look at that word problem. 1/32 of an hour to swim 1 lap. Okay. But what does that mean in actual minutes? That's a fraction of an hour. 1 out of 32. So to solve question B, how many minutes? I'm going to take 1 over 32 as my fraction of an hour. And I'm going to times it by, well, how many minutes are in an hour? 60? Great. Oh. So 1 and over, I cannot make a 6 today. 1 over 32 times 60 is equal to 60 over 32. And if I put it into my calculator, 60 divided by 32 is going to give me 1.875 minutes. So in under 2 minutes, he can swim a lap. That's pretty fast. Or she. Congratulations, Charlie. And our last problem today, example 4. A town called Johnsville has snow on about 2/3 of the days in a year. It has snow on 4 times as many days as Yorktown. On what fraction of the day of the year does Yorktown have snow? Well, if Johnsonville has 2/3 of the days of the year filled with snow, and Yorktown has 4 times as many, I'm going to divide 2/3 by 4 to solve. So again, division statement, or 4 over 1. And I'm going to keep my first number, keep my fraction, multiply, and flip the reciprocal of the second one. So 2/3 times 1 over 4 is the same as saying 2/3 divided by 4. Now it's easy. 2 times 1 equals 2. 3 times 4 equals 12. And I can simplify to lowest terms. Both can be divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And I'm going to write my statement. Text box. Over here, though. Yorktown has snow days on 1/6 of the days compared to Johnsville. So stop. Does this make sense? Think about stop and think about your answer. Does this make sense? I can backtrack. Okay, if on 1/6 of the days it has snow, which is 4 times compared to Johnsonville, I can go 1/6. I have 1/6 times 4 is equal to 4/6, or in simpler terms, 2/3. So it works. 2/3 divided by 4 is equal to 1/6. 1/6 times 4 equals 2/3. So I should be able to work backwards and forwards with multiplication and division to solve and double check my work. So for division, you're basically just multiplying by the reciprocal. So to review, either times by the denominator, the whole number, or when dividing by a whole number, we can change the division symbol to multiplication and then multiply by 1 over the whole number. So you keep the first fraction the same like we did here. 2/3 stays the same, divided by 4. And I'm going to flip the reciprocal. So keep 2/3, 2/3 times 1/4 to solve. Now you're ready to complete 6.2 in your pink booklet. If you don't have your pink booklet, it is on Google Classroom, and we can staple the pages from your loose leaf to your pink booklet later and complete these textbook problems.